Level 1. The interview. You are 23 years old, you have a degree in international relations, and you have just been asked by a man in a gray suit whether you have ever knowingly associated with a foreign national in a romantic context. You have. Her name was Sofia. She was from Portugal. You dated for 4 months in your junior year. You tell him this. He writes it down without changing his expression. He has been writing things down without changing his expression for 90 minutes. This is your third interview. The first one was on campus. Casual. A recruiter who found you through your thesis on Central Asian political instability. She bought you coffee and asked questions that felt like conversation but were structured like an assessment. You passed something you didn't know you were being tested on. The second interview was at a nondescript office building in Northern Virginia, where you signed 3 documents before anyone told you what the meeting was about. You passed that one too. This is the polygraph. The man in the gray suit is not the polygraph operator. He is the person who reviews what the polygraph operator found and asks follow-up questions about the parts that produced responses worth examining. He has been doing this for 11 years. He has heard every version of every answer to every question he is asking. His face reflects none of this. He asks about your drug use. You tell him about the 2 times in college. He writes it down. He asks about your finances. You walk him through the student loans, the credit card, the checking account with $400 in it. He writes it down. He asks whether you have ever shared classified information with an unauthorized person. You have never had access to classified information. He writes that down too. At the end, he closes the folder. He tells you someone will be in touch. Someone is in touch 6 weeks later. You are offered a position as a staff operations officer trainee. The salary is listed. It is less than your college roommate makes in tech. You accept before you finish reading the offer letter. You tell your parents you got a government job. They ask which agency. You tell them it is federal work. Administrative. Not very exciting. You have just told the first of what will become a very large number of lies to people you love, and you did it so smoothly that you are slightly unsettled by how easy it was. Level 2. The Farm. The official name is the Career Training Program. Everyone calls it the Farm. It is located on a military base in Virginia, whose name you are not supposed to say out loud in public, and which you will say out loud in public exactly once before someone corrects you with a look that you will not forget. You will spend 18 weeks here. The first week is administrative. Paperwork, clearances, orientation briefings, delivered by people who have the specific energy of those who have given the same briefing so many times that it no longer contains any information for them. You receive your security badge. You are told what it means to lose it. You do not lose it. Week 2 is when it starts. Surveillance detection. How to identify a tail. How to run a route that confirms whether you are being followed without alerting the person following you. You practice in shopping malls and parking garages and on foot through neighborhoods where the trainers have embedded other trainees playing surveillance roles. You fail the first 3 exercises. On the 4th, you spot your tail outside a pharmacy, identify a second one you didn't know existed, and break contact through a department store without being reacquired. Your instructor tells you that was acceptable. At the farm, acceptable is the highest praise you will receive for several months. You learn tradecraft, dead drops, signal sights, how to conduct a clandestine meeting in a public location in a way that is invisible to everyone present. You learn how to develop a cover story, how to build it in layers, how to answer questions about it under stress without hesitation, because hesitation is the tell, and the tell is the end of everything. You learn how to assess a person's motivations, vulnerabilities, and potential for recruitment in a conversation they believe is social. You learn how to recruit. This is the part that changes you. Not the surveillance, not the cover stories, the recruitment. Because recruitment requires you to look at a human being and identify what they need, what they fear, what gap in their life you can position yourself to fill, and then fill it deliberately, systematically, in service of an objective they do not know exists. You are learning to become the most useful person in someone else's life for reasons that have nothing to do with them. Your class started with 31 people. 6 weeks in, 4 are gone, not dismissed dramatically, just quietly reassigned. Their bunks are empty one morning, and nobody discusses it, and you learn quickly that not discussing things is its own kind of fluency. You graduate the farm on a Thursday afternoon in a room with no windows. No family present, no photographs. You receive a handshake and a new set of instructions. Monday morning, you report to Langley. Level 3. The Analyst. Your first posting is not overseas. Your first posting is a desk in a building that looks, from the outside, like an insurance company's regional office. Inside, it is divided into pods of 4 analysts who spend their days reading signals intelligence, human intelligence reports, satellite imagery analysis, and open source material in volumes that would be genuinely impossible to process if you were trying to understand all of it. Rather than looking for specific things within it, you are looking for specific things. Your portfolio is a province in a country you cannot name in this room, on a network that does not connect to the public internet, on a computer that physically cannot be connected to anything outside this building. Your job is pattern recognition. You are looking for changes in communication frequency, changes in personnel movement, changes in language that suggest something is being prepared or concealed. You read thousands of documents a week. Most of them contain nothing. Some of them contain pieces of things. Occasionally, rarely, one of them contains something that matters. When that happens, you write a report. The report goes up the chain. You rarely learn what happens to it. Sometimes a senior officer tells you your reporting contributed to an operation. Sometimes you read something in a classified cable months later that connects to work you did, and you understand that something happened somewhere as a result of words you wrote at a desk in a building that looks like an insurance company. This is satisfying in a way that is difficult to explain to anyone outside this building, which is everyone you know. Your cover story for family and friends is consultant work for a government contractor. It is specific enough to be plausible and vague enough to survive casual questioning. You have rehearsed it to the point where you deliver it without the micro-expressions that accompany lying, because you have been trained to do this and because you have told it enough times that parts of your brain have started filing it adjacent to truth. Your college girlfriend asks why you never talk about your work. You tell her it is mostly bureaucratic. Repetitive, not worth describing. She nods. She half believes you. You can tell she half believes you, and the other half of her is asking a question she has not yet decided to ask out loud. 3 months later, she stops calling, and you understand why, and you do not have anything to offer in response because the honest answer is not available to you. You request an overseas posting. It is approved 14 months later. Level 4. The Field Officer. Your cover is vice consul at a mid-sized embassy in a country whose name you know but cannot use here. The cover is not thin. It has history, a personnel file that exists in the actual State Department system, a professional backstory that colleagues at the embassy believe, because it was built to be believed, and because most people do not interrogate the biographical details of coworkers, they have no reason to suspect. You attend embassy functions, you file actual consular reports, you do the job that your cover says you do, well enough that no one looks for what you are doing in addition. What you are doing in addition is running assets. An asset is a person who provides intelligence to the CIA, usually in exchange for money, protection, ideology, or some combination of the three. Finding an asset requires identifying a person with access to information you need, determining what they want, and engineering a relationship in which providing that information meets that want. This process can take months, sometimes years. Your first asset takes 8 months. He is a mid-level official in a ministry you have been tasked with penetrating. You meet him at a conference. You run into him again at a reception you arranged to be at. You meet for coffee because he mentioned something about his children's school fees, and you asked a follow-up question, and he answered it, and you understood what you were looking at. By the 4th meeting, he is telling you things he should not be telling you. By the 6th meeting, he understands the arrangement. He does not love it. But the school fees are resolved, and the thing he has been worried about at his ministry for 2 years has quietly become less worrying. He is yours. The intelligence he provides is valuable enough that you receive a commendation in your personnel file that you are not allowed to show to anyone. But assets are not databases. They are people. They have moods and fears and families, and occasionally they get scared and do things that scared people do, which is either confess or disappear. Your second asset disappears. Not dramatically. He stops making contact. The last communication suggests he was spooked by something operational on his end. You spend 6 weeks trying to re-establish contact through secondary channels. Nothing. You write a report concluding that the asset has gone silent and recommending the case be suspended. You do not know what happened to him. You will not know. That is the part of this job that does not appear in any training material at the farm. The assets are not case numbers. They are people who trusted you with things that could destroy them, and your relationship with them is built on a structural dishonesty so complete that trust is not the right word for what it actually is. And sometimes they disappear, and you write a report and open the next file. You go home to your apartment and you eat dinner alone, and you watch something on a television that receives 3 foreign channels, and you do not think about it. You are very good at not thinking about things. Level 5. The Station Chief. You are 36, and you run the station. The station is the CIA's operational hub inside a country. Everything flows through you. Assets, intelligence reports, operational planning, liaison with local security services who know you are CIA and work with you anyway, because the relationship is mutually useful and everyone in the room understands this without anyone saying it. You have 12 officers under you. You manage their cover identities, their assets, their operational security, and the political dynamics of a country that is simultaneously an ally and an adversary, depending on the specific issue and the specific week. The ambassador technically outranks you. You have a functional relationship based on mutual professional respect and the shared understanding that you each control things the other one needs. He controls access and diplomatic cover. You control information he cannot get any other way. You have a standing weekly meeting that is not on the official embassy calendar. An operation goes wrong. Not catastrophically, but wrong enough. An asset you have been running for 2 years gets burned. Not by your station. By a leak somewhere upstream in the reporting chain. The asset does not die. He is arrested. He will be released eventually because the local government has reasons not to push it further. But the network he was part of, 3 years of cultivation, is now exposed and will have to be rebuilt from zero. You write a damage assessment. The damage assessment goes to Langley. Langley sends questions. You answer the questions. The questions suggest that someone upstream believes the burn originated with your station. You write a second report addressing this directly. The second report is more detailed and considerably less diplomatic than the first. This is noticed in both the good and the bad way. The good way is that your directness is considered an asset in an officer being evaluated for senior positions. The bad way is that 3 people in senior positions now have professional reasons to want you somewhere other than where you are. You are offered a promotion back to Langley. It is framed as an opportunity. It is also a removal. You understand both framings simultaneously, and you accept the position, because the alternative is staying in a station where the political situation above you has made effective operations difficult, and because Langley is where the decisions get made, and you are tired of executing decisions made by people who have not been in the field in a decade. You fly home on a commercial flight under your own name. For the first time in 4 years, you go through customs as yourself. It feels strange. Level 6. The Director of Operations. You are 41, and you sit in a corner office on the 4th floor of the original headquarters building, and every covert operation the CIA runs anywhere in the world goes through your chain of command. The decisions that reach your desk are not the ones with easy answers. The easy answers get resolved 3 levels below you. What reaches you are the situations where every available option has a significant cost, and someone has to choose which cost to accept. A source with critical intelligence who is also involved in something the legal team has opinions about. An operation that will achieve the objective and create a diplomatic problem that will require 18 months to resolve. A partner service asking for assistance with something that is technically legal and ethically complicated. You make these decisions with the information available, which is never complete, and the time available, which is never sufficient, and the authority available, which is real but constrained by oversight structures that exist for good reasons and occasionally make it impossible to do the thing that needs to be done at the speed it needs to be done. You testify before the Senate Intelligence Committee 4 times a year. The senators ask questions that range from genuinely insightful to questions that reveal they have not read the briefing materials their staff prepared. You answer within the constraints of what can be said in a room that is classified but not classified enough for everything you know. You become skilled at the specific art of saying true things that do not convey the complete truth to an audience that does not have the clearance to receive the complete truth and would not know what to do with it if they did. 3 operations you authorized are currently being investigated by the Inspector General. Not because they were illegal, because they were complicated, and complication attracts scrutiny, and scrutiny generates paperwork, and paperwork generates more scrutiny. Your general counsel has opinions about all 3. You have different opinions. The difference in opinions is managed through a process that takes time your operational schedule does not have. You eat lunch at your desk most days. Your ex-wife has primary custody. Your daughter is 12 and knows her father works for the government and has decided this is acceptable because you call every Sunday without fail and you have never once missed her birthday in person. What she does not know is that on her 7th birthday, you were in a situation room in this building watching a live feed of an operation that went wrong in ways that required your attention for 14 continuous hours, and that you called her from a bathroom at 11 in the evening and sang happy birthday into the phone while she was already asleep and her mother held the phone to her ear. She does not know. You have calculated that the correct decision is for her not to know. You make this kind of calculation every day. Level 7. The Director. You are confirmed by the Senate on a Tuesday afternoon with a vote of 61 to 38. The hearing took 3 days. You were asked about every operation that has been publicly attributed to the CIA in the last decade, several that have not been publicly attributed, and one that you cannot confirm or deny in an open session. You answered everything you could answer. You declined to answer 3 questions. 2 of the senators who voted against you did so because of the 3 questions. One did so because of your answer to a question about drone policy, which you answered honestly, and he disagreed with the honesty. You are now the director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Your day starts at 5:15 in the morning with the President's Daily Brief, a classified intelligence summary prepared by analysts across the community. You read it on a secure device in a car on the way to the White House, where you present it to the President in a meeting that lasts between 20 minutes and an hour, depending on what is in it and what kind of morning it is. The President has opinions about intelligence. Some of those opinions are well-informed. Some of them are based on things the President heard from someone who heard it from someone else, and which arrived at the Oval Office stripped of the context that made them complicated. Part of your job is providing that context. Part of your job is doing this in a way that does not create a dynamic where the President stops reading the brief because the person who delivers it keeps telling him the thing he just said is more complicated than he presented it. This is a balance. You are managing 41,000 employees across 6 directorates, operating in every country on Earth. You are managing relationships with 17 foreign intelligence services, each with their own interests, their own methods, and their own definitions of what the word partner means in practice. You are managing congressional oversight, Inspector General reviews, Department of Justice consultations, and the ongoing reality that every significant operation the agency undertakes will eventually be written about by someone who was not in the room and will get significant portions of it wrong in ways you cannot correct, because correcting them would require confirming things that are not confirmed. And you are doing all of this as the person whose name and face are now publicly associated with the agency. The anonymity you operated under for 18 years is gone. Your name is in every story. Your face is in every briefing graphic. Foreign intelligence services that used to know you only as a station chief call sign now know your biography in detail. Your daughter's school has a security protocol because of who her father is. You think sometimes about the polygraph room, the man in the gray suit who wrote things down without changing his expression. You wonder if he is still doing it. Running the same process on 23-year-olds with $400 in their checking accounts and degrees in international relations and no idea what they just said yes to. You said yes to all of it, and here you are. There is no retirement ceremony at the CIA. There is a distinguished career award presented in a room that does not exist in any public record, attended by people whose names will not appear in any coverage of the event, photographed by a camera whose images will not be published. You receive a shadow box with your career's operational aliases printed on it. You know what each alias represents. No one else in the room knows all of them. Some of them, the early ones, you had almost forgotten. Your daughter is 31 now. She knows more than she knew at 12. Not everything, but enough. She asked you once, at dinner, what the hardest part was. Not the operations, not the oversight, the hardest part. You told her the hardest part was the distance. Not geographic distance, the other kind. The distance that accumulates when you cannot explain your days to the people you love. When you come home and sit at the dinner table and they ask how work was, and you say fine, because fine is the only word available, and after enough years of fine, there is a gap where the real conversation would have been, and the gap does not close. Because the information that would close it is classified at a level that does not expire. She nodded. She understood more than you expected. Outside, somewhere, a 23-year-old is sitting in a third interview in a room with a man in a gray suit who is writing things down without changing his expression. They have a degree that feels useless. They have $400 in a checking account. They have no idea what they are about to say yes to. They are going to say yes. They always say yes. The agency does not stop. It does not retire. It does not explain itself. It just continues, the way institutions continue, absorbing the people who walk through the door and spending them in ways they agreed to without fully understanding what the agreement meant, and producing from that process something that protects things most people will never know needed protecting. You pick up the shadow box. You walk to your car. Your protection detail drives you home for the last time. The work continues without you. It always does.